If Donald Duck can live without wearing anything from the waist down, why does he use a towel? How can someone listen to music if the headphones aren't on their ears? And did you know that Mario and Luigi died in Teen Titans? Cartoons are definitely made to entertain us, but every now and then there are some part of the cartoons that make absolutely no sense, or even have some really bizarre moments. Grab your popcorn and join us, because you're about to discover some crazy stuff. Well, logic isn't something that belongs in Courage and Cowardly Dog's universe, that's for sure. But we have to say, they really outdid themselves on this one. When that evil duck who wanted to get rid of Courage got arrested, just look at those handcuffs. Honestly, that was one of the most fake looking arrests of all time. This one is a classic, but it couldn't be left out of our list. When the three brothers are playing and singing, you can see a ridiculous bizarre picture frame that says father on it. But guess what? The frame is actually made of sausages. My question is, why didn't they take a picture of their dad when he was alive? It's bizarre, but it's still funny. There are definitely some strange things in cartoons. One of them is the scene where Donald, Huey, Dewey, and Louie are sitting at the table for dinner, and the main course is simply roasted chicken. That would be at least unethical in the real world, don't you think, guys? Continuing with Disney characters, this is definitely one of the most contradictory things you will see today. Believe me. In one scene, we can see Minnie Mouse, and she's afraid of, mouse? The animators really outdid themselves this time. Maybe that's why Mickey started a mouse extermination company.
I've used my insight into how mice think to hunt, track, and exterminate over 50,000 rodents.
Phineas and Ferb is truly entertaining and completely unreal, but there's something that catches a lot of attention. How does Phineas manage to put on his t-shirt? Look at how the collar is detached, and at the same time look at the shape of Phineas' head. Ergonomically, it's what we call a physical impossibility. But that's also why cartoons are funny, right? Undoubtedly, Bugs Bunny and the Looney Tunes are some of the most watched and beloved cartoons of all time. And who hasn't heard this?
What's up, Doc? What's cooking? What's up, Doc?
If you haven't, you surely don't live on planet Earth. But did you know that in some older Bugs Bunny cartoons, there are some extremely bizarre scenes? One of them happens when Bugs Bunny is in a fort serving the army. The fort is under attack by Native Americans, and we see Bugs Bunny doing this.
1 little, 2 little, 3 little engines. 4 little, 5 little, 6 little engines.
Yep, folks, that's exactly what you saw. He was counting as if he were shooting a cap gun at an amusement park to win a stuffed animal. But that's not what he was doing. He was actually hitting the little Indians. Tell me, isn't that bizarre? It seems like Bugs Bunny is an expert at creating, let's say, controversial scenes. In another episode, set during the American Civil War, Bugs Bunny tries to cross from the south to the north, but Yosemite Sam doesn't want to let him, so Bugs Bunny disguises himself as a slave. That's right, folks. He pretends to be a slave and even puts a whip in Yosemite Sam's hand, asking him not to do anything to him. Wow, it's one thing to provide a history lesson, but that was quite heavy, old buddy. One thing that has always intrigued me in the Looney Tunes cartoons is the case of the romantic skunk. While the poor cat tries to escape the relentless suitor, we see her running at full speed. Meanwhile, Peppa is hopping along slowly, and always catches up to her. It's downright distressing. If there's one thing the Smurfs are, it's small. So that's exactly why they can't be kept in any kind of cage if they're captured. But look at this. Or this. It's hard to say they were there against their own will. I mean, they could just walk out whenever they wanted, right? Fairly Odd Parents was a hilarious show that made its mark, but there were definitely some bizarre moments in it. In the second episode of the third season, titled It's Alive, we see Timmy going to camp and leaving the responsibility of feeding his hamster to his dad, but he simply forgets. And do you know what happens when you go 30 days without feeding your pet? Well, as usual, the pet gets buried in the backyard. The problem is that Timmy asks Wanda and Cosmo to make everything in his backyard come to life. The problem is, the poor hamster is buried right there. He comes back to life like something out of The Walking Dead and tries to get revenge on Timmy's parents. Everything gets resolved in the end. But we can see that the poor hamster wasn't the first to meet such a tragic fate. Folks, please, treat your pets better than Timmy's parents, okay? Tom and Jerry are always completely, let's say, nude. But the funniest part is when they go to the beach and wear shorts and swimsuits. Or when Jerry is taking a bath and he gets shy. I really don't get it. In The Simpsons opening, there's something we can say is bizarre. When Meg is at the supermarket with Marge, she always gets scanned at the checkout, like an item that can be purchased. That in itself is already bizarre because it means the supermarket can scan even children at the checkout. But what's even more interesting is that whenever Meg gets scanned, the total cost appears, which can vary from episode. The value that appears is the average cost to raise a child in the United States. Still talking about SpongeBob SquarePants, have you ever stopped to think that the sleeves of SpongeBob's shirt serve no purpose? Because his arms are above the collar's height. So sleeves there would be totally impossible. Another bizarre thing we see happening in Bikini Bottom is definitely this. How does SpongeBob manage to blow up bubbles underwater? And worse, how does he do it with a jar on his head? That's totally nonsensical, but I have to admit, it's hilarious. Have you ever wondered, what are Krabby Patties made of after all? Well, we ask ourselves the same question from time to time. What stands out the most is that Mr. Krabs is a crab, and his name Krabs is a clear reference to crab, which is also a reference to Krabby in Krabby Patties. In an episode of Robot Chicken, a satirical cartoon that parodies other shows, there's a scene where SpongeBob discovers what Krabby Patties are actually made of and encourages the customers to catch Mr. Krabs.
Krabby Patties are made out of crab!
This definitely goes on the list of bizarre things in cartoons. In Teen Titans Go, in one episode, Raven's father, Trigon, is angry with her for forgetting to give him a present. As punishment, he sends her and the whole team to an underground world. And you know what's down there, right? At one point, through Robbie's binoculars, we can see the skeletons of both Mario and Luigi. The funny thing is that they were just skeletons, but their mustaches were still there, and Luigi was holding a turtle shell, probably from a Koopa. One of the villains in K&D, The Kids Next Door, was Mr. Boss. But there's one thing about him that never quite fits. His cigar was on one side, but his mouth was on the other. I guess it was just for decoration. Arthur is definitely one of the most educational cartoons out there, but there are a few things about it that certainly don't make any sense, and we're here to prove it to you. Glasses rest on the face in two parts, on the nose and on the ears. But in Arthur's case, he's a guinea pig, and from what we can see, neither his nose is in a shape that allows the glasses to rest, nor are his ears positioned below the glasses' legs. So are Arthur's glasses suspended by some kind of magic? Cartoons being cartoons, normal. In another episode of Arthur, we see him wearing headphones. As we mentioned in the previous topic, Arthur's little ears are way up there. After all, he's a guinea pig, as we said. So why on earth are his headphones on the side of his head? Does he have 4 ears instead of 2? I don't think so. Those were the 20 bizarre things you probably haven't seen in cartoons. Tell us which of these things we showed here did you find the most bizarre. Until next time, bye!